Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this week's Xbox Factor podcast. I'm one of your hosts, MrBooMStickXL, and as always, my co-host with the mostest, the guy who is not known as the London Gamer, my very good friend, someone that I consider to be almost a brother, even though we've never met in real life. I have to welcome in, once again, to his permanent chair, the Welsh Gamer. Welcome, dude.
What's going on, Boom? And yes, don't wear it out. I am the Welsh gamer, not the London gamer. No, man, it's exciting times, man. I already got a few people in the chat excited for us to go, with someone by the name of Simon Brake saying hi to my two favourite podcasters, Double Barrel Gaming and the Welsh Gamer. Big shout out to you, dude. What a way to start a show with a big dose of positivity. Man, I'm excited. Let's get it. We got some cracking topics today, and I'll put this out there. Boom. Let's go as long as it takes, man, because I want to get all of these done. They're brilliant.
All right, well, thank you so much for that. But before we get into the topics, as a content creator, the way that the show is powered is by, of course, the community. And this channel, as many people know, that I've said on numerous shows before, was built from the ground up with this community in mind. And a couple of months ago, I started a Patreon for Double Barrel Gaming, and in unbelievable fashion, the community stepped up in a way that I didn't expect, because I don't ever expect anything. I just do what I do because I enjoy talking about video games. I enjoy talking about the Xbox brand. Obviously, it's my favorite place to play. And of course, I love interacting and talking with this community. So I kind of just got to give, I feel obligated and almost necessary to shout out these people that help me power the show financially, that allows me to do monthly giveaways, and sometimes during the shows give more giveaways to the people that tune in each and every week. So Alfonso Hogan, Josette Rivera, who everyone knows is my wife, Casket Repair, The Only One Left, Defunct Jester, LMNOP, Frederick Jackson, J-Force Games, Jim Jordan, Chaos Theory, Leroy Smiley, who's a new member, so thank you, Leroy, Lethal Papa, Mark Devlin, Mental 9R Gamer, Ricardo Willis, Robert Olson, Scrub Nurse, and last, and in no way least, Tempest Sun. Thank you for so much for supporting Double Barrel Gaming. And of course, now we're going to get into the outstanding topics that I have put together, and there's a lot to talk about. And you know what? I want to open up the show, Drew, with something that a lot of shows have talked about, and I'm going to talk about it because we didn't get a chance last week to talk about it. But we're going to talk right now. And obviously, there has been a lot of news regarding Insomniac Games officially becoming part of Sony's worldwide studios. Now, in a move that I stated on Twitter is a no-brainer for many reasons. Obviously, I'm a big fan of Ted Price, and I've also loved his work. But this particular topic isn't going to be so much about what happened with them joining Sony's worldwide studios and what they're going to do there. This is going to be taking at it from a different angle, so bear with me as I kind of break it down. Drew, some are saying within the community that this was a dagger to the heart of Xbox. And though I would solidly disagree, I'm very happy for Ted Price, like I've said before, because getting a permanent position in a place like Sony or Microsoft, if they would have signed with the green team, so to speak, is financial security for all of his employees, and he's responsible to make sure that these people that work for him or have worked for him for years can provide for their families. At the end of the day, yes, it is games, but you have to look past that. You have to look why these decisions are made, and usually it's a financial one. Financial security in 2019 is hard to come by. So of course, I am happy for Ted Price. I'm happy for everyone in Insomniac Games, and I'm really excited to see what they're going to do. But Drew, this is where this topic gets a little dark, okay? And you have the show notes in front of you, so you know where I'm going. The big question here is, Drew, who is to blame? Well, unfortunately, This is a very complex answer, one that both of us are going to break down live on the air right now. Now, if you're unaware and you're new to the Xbox family, I say welcome. The game that we're talking about that Insomniac Games made for the Microsoft Xbox One as an exclusive is Sunset Overdrive. It was released in 2014 to very good critical success. Though being that the Xbox only had about 10 million consoles in the wild at the time, we know that the hardcore are usually the ones who will support the brand and usually support the first-party titles. Well, in sad news, as of today's show, State of Decay 2, Sunset Overdrive, only has sold 2 million copies since launch, which again was 5 years ago. So, Drew, are the Xbox fans to blame for this?
Right. I've given this a lot of thought, Boom. I really have. I've given this a lot of thought. Because you basically, in a nutshell, put on this plate for me to consume and digest. Where does the blame go? And I got to be perfectly honest, Boom. As I am I think that's why this relationship works, this partnership works. And I think anyone who listens to this show, if they think that I'm anything short of an honest person by now, then they obviously don't know me, because I'm very transparent. I'm an honest person. And I have no issue blaming anybody. If I see a clear fault in front of me, Boom, I don't mind pointing the finger and saying, you messed up, sir. And I'm sure you're the same, Boomer. Can we agree on that?
Oh, I would absolutely, yes.
Exactly. But in this instance, I don't think I can honestly blame, or should I say, I don't think the blame can really be placed on any one person or company. And allow me to explain. Even more to this point, I just do not understand the backlash. I'm going to get that out of the way now. I think that this is a complete no-brainer for Sony. I couldn't agree more with you on that front. The exact same way acquiring Playground Games was a no-brainer for Xbox. It is a no-brainer. And like you said, with 2019, to get financial security as a business, it makes the most sense. And with the exception of Sunset Overdrive, Boom, the Insomniac Games library consists mostly of Sony exclusives, with games like Resistance and Ratchet & Clank as examples, just a few examples.
Right.
And up until now, they have wanted to remain independent. But with Sunset Overdrive lingering in the wind, absent a green light from Microsoft to produce a sequel, and of course, the unprecedented success of PS4's Spider-Man being dubbed the #1 superhero game of all time, they have now agreed to end their independent streak and partner up with Sony. I honestly think it's a great business decision, makes complete sense, and I, for one, have zero issue. Frankly, Boom, and this is me being honest again, I commend it, as I would have done the same thing if I were in Insomniac's shoes. But when I think of the blame game, Boom, when we consider who's to blame for this and how it's transpired, it's hard. Because to blame someone or something should be concrete and definitive. There should be no confusion, and in no circumstance should you be able to pass the buck. Which I hate, by the way. I hate it when if you're wrong about something and you can't take that you're wrong about something, you try to pass the blame to someone else. And that goes for people who like force the blame on someone. If you can't blame someone or something definitively, then stop trying to throw blame around. Which is why I do find it hard to place said blame on any one person or company here. As on one hand, an argument could be made that Microsoft should have doubled down on a Sunset Overdrive 2 while they could have. But then why would they when the first one didn't succeed as much as it should have? So then an argument could be made that it was the Xbox fan base at fault due to the lack of support for Sunset Overdrive. But then an argument could be made can also be made that because of I've missed my place. So then an argument could be made that it was the Xbox fan base's fault due to the lack of support of the first Sunset Overdrive. But then the argument could also be made, Boom, that with the poor launch and mixed messaging of the Xbox One by Microsoft and Don Matrick back in 2013, Sunset Overdrive didn't have the best chance to thrive and succeed because of the user base. It was a lot smaller back then.
Yes.
Than it really should have been.
Yeah.
But where do you draw the line, Boom? That's my question on where the blame should go. Because in this particular case, and there's plenty of cases like it, but in this particular case, there is a domino effect that dates back to the start of this generation, which a lot of people probably would overlook or not even consider. Bottom line, Boom, after the success of Insomniac's Spider-Man and the promise of future sequels under the Sony PlayStation platform, Insomniac would have been fools not to retire their independence and officially partner up full-time with Sony, which they technically were doing, when you think about it, Boom, unofficially since the Resistance, Spyro, and Ratchet & Clank days back on the PS2 and PS3. A smart and very predictable move, Boom, and I'll end by saying that I speak for level-headed gamers out there when I say I do not see the problem with this partnership whatsoever.
Well, before I get into my next point, which is, I think it's going to be pretty interesting, I have to thank LMNOP with not one, but two outstanding and very generous super chats. The first one, $2. He says, "Afternoon, gents. Thanks for making it entertaining." And I got to be honest with you, thank you for being here. This show would not be a show if we didn't have people in the chat. So at the end of the day, it's the fans that we do this for. And yes, we both live to entertain. And because we enjoy the Xbox brand so much, well, that's how this show was started. And in his second, and again, very generous donation to the channel, he said Sunset was well advertised on X. Maybe it should have sold better on. Maybe it would have sold better on the PlayStation. But we now know Ratchet and Spider-Man were a better IP for Insomniac than Sony. Well, you know what, dude? That's a great point. That's actually a really great point, because those are two fantastic. I mean, just look. If you look at what they did, pardon me, with Spider-Man, listen. And I know the people are going to be in the chat like, "Oh my God, this is an Xbox show. How dare you talk about Sony?" Well, listen, folks, I'm a gamer, and I play where the games are, and I love Spider-Man. I loved it so much that I'm just, I think, 3 trophies away from the platinum, and I will eventually get it because I love the game. Ratchet and Clank, a $40 title, a reboot or a reimagining or a remake of the original. If you've never played it and you own a PlayStation 4, I highly recommend it. It's Pixar-like graphics, and it's great fun. So they did a better job not taking away from what they did, because I loved Sunset Overdrive. A lot of people didn't. I see a lot of people in the chat like, "Yeah, it's just not my cup of tea." Guess what? I say this every show. Not every game is for every gamer. That game happened to be for Boom. I liked it. Now, I will admit that once you hit the ground, you are slow as molasses. The whole point of it is to keep moving. A lot of people didn't get that. But I want to continue with this. I want to grab everyone's attention to an article that I pulled whilst researching this particular topic from Windows Central that was written on October 24th of 2017, almost 2 years ago, titled "Insomniac Games is Looking for a Publisher for Sunset Overdrive 2. And in the tweet that I pulled from way back in 2017, here is what Barbosa at M. John East wrote on the official Sunset Overdrive Twitter account. And it's simple. "Sunset Overdrive 2, please," with a happy face. They responded very simply, "We'd love to. We just need to find a publisher." Now, the blame here, like you were saying, Drew, is a double-sided coin. Xbox gamers did not support Insomniac and their game. That's obvious. But unlike Sony, Microsoft didn't take a chance on a sequel that all of us have been begging and pleading for. And why I bring up Sony is because if you look back to the PlayStation 3 and how Uncharted 1 was taken in by the fan base, had a lot of development problems, was not a perfect game. Was it a good game? Sure, it was a good game. But was it a great game? No. Didn't get the critical success it should have. And what did they do? What did Sony do? They greenlight Uncharted 2, which is, as it stands on today's show that I'm talking, Uncharted 2 is my favorite PlayStation 3 game of all time. And it was so good that I replayed it and beat it 2 more times on the PlayStation 4 in the collection, because I absolutely love Nathan Drake, but I loved that particular tale and the environment and everything about that game. The question now is is Microsoft to blame for this? Because you see, they could have greenlit this. They could have said, well, listen, the fans really want a Sunset Overdrive. There are 40 million plus console owners out there. Now, whether it's 42, 45, 47, I don't know. And I don't think anyone's ever. So I always like to say 40, right? But here's the thing. Here is why I think that this is a everyone to blame kind of a situation. Microsoft themselves could have at some point made an offer to Insomniac Games. Now, we don't know. Again, folks, understand this. We're just speculating here. I have no inside track to anything that goes on in Microsoft. I'm just a fan. So I don't know the inner business workings. I'm looking at this from a fan's perspective. I would love to have Insomniac Games as a first party, but like Drew said, and he alluded to in his amazing response, they're better suited for a PlayStation, the PlayStation brand, only because they've been working with PlayStation almost their entire career. They only have one exclusive for the Microsoft brand, obviously, that is Sunset Overdrive. And the only other multi-plat game, there was one that failed. I don't remember the name of it. It was a shooter that didn't do very well. But they teamed up with GameStop, and they released a little like submarine game. It didn't do that great. It was kind of like a Metrovania kind of a sub game that they teamed up to as GameStop as the publisher. But I want to end it with this, Drew, and I want to get your opinion on this. When you say blame, I'm not really pointing the finger at anyone. I'm not saying fans, you're terrible, or Microsoft, you're terrible, or Insomniac, the hell with you for signing with Sony. No. At the end of the day, it is a business, and people have to make business decisions. I just think that I kind of wonder if they would have been greenlit for a Sunset Overdrive 2, and supposedly it was written and ready to go. They just needed a publisher. They could not self-publish because obviously it's a smaller AAA studio. Some people say AA. I'm telling you, Insomniac is a AAA studio, and they're going to prove that with whatever they come out with next for the PlayStation 5 or whatever. But the question that I will propose to you is if Microsoft would have greenlit Sunset Overdrive 2, and it would have had the response that I think it probably should have, the first one should have had. Could this be a different scenario where they're now signed on with Microsoft as a first-party developer? Well, what do you think? What are your thoughts on that, Drew?
I think there's a lot of stock in that scenario. Like, obviously, if circumstances were different and it was Microsoft that like put the checkbook out and was like, "Yeah, we want a sequel," blah blah blah. Like, let's take a chance. But I don't know. Like I said, like, I know I went maybe off the rails a bit with my lengthy answer before, but like it is just such a hard thing to stamp point the blame one way over another. So, like I said, the thing with Insomniac and Sony is a no-brainer because as circumstances stand right now, Sony took a chance with Insomniac, wanted them to develop a Spider-Man game. You know, like you said before, Marvel approached Sony, and they, all the deals were set in stone to make a very popular Marvel character on a very popular system with 100 million units sold. A great deal, a great idea. It worked in dividends, and due to sheer circumstance and the success, that was the final push that Insomniac needed to give up their independence, and Sony grabbed that opportunity by the horns, and I say kudos. Now, yes, we could rewind the clock and be like, Xbox should have done that before. They should have grabbed. But let's face it, if we're comparing the two situations now, you have Spider-Man, which hit the ground running, or hit the ground swinging, pardon the pun, and took off, broke records, easily let's just face it, the #1 best superhero game of all time. Versus Insomniac's Sunset Overdrive, which, yes, it was original, something different, but it just didn't get the traction that a lot of people who loved that game felt it deserved. I mean, I'm a true believer in what will be, and things happen for a reason. I do believe that things do happen for a reason, but Do I blame Microsoft for not grabbing that opportunity when they could have? I'm going to be honest, yes and no, for the same reasons I professed a moment ago. Like, Xbox in the past has been burned with a few projects. Like, look at Scalebound as a prime example.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a
You
great
know,
point.
they got in touch with Platinum Games. The Japanese games were in high demand as ever to be on the Xbox platform. They went out of their way to try and secure a deal with a developer for an exclusive game. That fell through due to complacent development on their end.
Yes.
Then you look at Fable Legends, who were under a very respected developer with Lionhead. No one ever thought that was going to fall through, but it did. So they got burned a couple of times with what would from the outsider point of view looking in, were pretty much done deals. Like, people would etch their bets on it being a successful mission, getting any one of those two titles on board, and it fell through. So from Xbox's perspective, being burned on two massive occasions and having the media down their necks and the haters down their necks, you've got to look at it from a lot of different angles and sympathize maybe a little bit. Like, Sunset Overdrive was a great risk, something completely original, a launch title, or say close to launch anyway, for the Xbox One. And due to just circumstance, and I emphasize circumstance, it just didn't happen. So no, I don't think Xbox were in a position where they would have felt like, oh man, we need to jump on this. We need to secure this for many more sequels to come, because they took the chance and it didn't happen. The same with Rise. It's only now in like 2018, 2019, people are starting to recognize that Rise Son of Rome is actually a very good game because it's free in Game Pass. All these years we've heard, oh, they should grab Crytek and get a Rise 2. But let's be fair, up until now, Rise hasn't had the best run, hasn't had the best reputation. So why on earth would Xbox sink money into something that a lot of people, at least up until now, have been slating and saying it's crap? So it's really hard. Like I said, there's a few points of blame here. You could blame the community for not supporting the game, but then you could also blame Microsoft for their mixed messaging at the beginning, because even if every last gamer who owned an Xbox One bought Sunset Overdrive, the numbers were still never going to be great, because no one really had an Xbox One around launch because the messaging from Microsoft was so poo.
Yeah, when the game came out, dude, there was only about 10 million consoles, maybe a little less than that, out in the wild. Like, at that point, Sony and Microsoft were close.
Exactly. And I don't know. It's a hard one. It's a really hard. I gotta just end on this. I honestly don't know where to lean the blame, because it's kind of a mixture. But if you were to ask me right now, if I was in Satya Nadella's shoes or Phil's shoes or Don Matrick, depending on the time period, and I had in front of me that contract, like to sign on for a Sunset Overdrive 2. I gotta be honest, due to the circumstance, I probably would have put my money into something else and give something else a chance to shine, because at the time, Sunset Overdrive just didn't make the cut, unfortunately. Whereas you look now, however many years later, Insomniac made Spider-Man. Spider-Man literally just plowed through the sales bracket like nothing on earth, and made pretty much set a new precedent for what a superhero game should look like. And because of that, the deal was set with Sony. So it really comes down to circumstance. But I'm really, but you know what? I'm going to put it to the chat as well. I'm going to say put a 1 if you think that it's Xbox's fault for not clamping down and being like, Sunset Overdrive, we need a sequel. Insomniac, let's acquire you. Or a 2 if you think that it's more of the fan base and the lack of support. But yeah, boom. That's all I can really say, man. I honestly, I'm stumped with this one.
No, I mean that's a great point. It's you know what? Again, this topic was originally created not to really point fingers and start boycotting stuff. This was basically a thought progressive based topic that, I mean, obviously a lot of people are feeling a little sour that are within the Xbox community, because there are a lot of folks that really, including myself, wanted to see a high-powered 60 frames per second 4K version of a Sunset Overdrive True. And though I understand that, a lot of people were bummed that once you hit the floor, it became slow as molasses. But, because Insomniac is Insomniac and they do listen to their fan base, they could have easily changed that to giving the said character rocket skates or like a skateboard that they could pull out and jump on to kind of speed it up. That would do something different for the next game, giving the player the ability to be fast on the ground as well as on top. You know what I'm saying? There's ways that you can fix that through development and listening to your fan base. But you know what? We've spent enough on this. Again, it was just a thought progressive based topic. I hope everyone enjoyed it. But I kind of want to talk about something else that's been making the news. Remedy Games. Now, listen. The one thing that I will say about Remedy, or at least I'll say about this community when it comes to Remedy, Drew, is that, and I've seen this, I think about 100 times in the last couple of days, Remedy's overrated. They take too long to make games. Well, look, I'm gonna stop you right there. I'm drawing a line in the sand. If that's how you feel, I'm not gonna tell you how to feel differently. But as a fan of gaming, as a fan of the selfish, single-player gameplay mentality that I have since being an OG, being a guy that's been gaming since 78. I like story-driven, adult-themed, single-player driven titles. That's probably why I buy every one of them for Sony's PlayStation 4, because I like I like playing. I mean, I don't mind the multiplayer, but I don't want it shoved down my throat. Sometimes I just want to sit on my couch, put on my headphones, and be engrossed by a very unique, differently told story that allows me to, connect with the character that I'm using on the screen. Well, control, story, and characters that obviously it's making the rounds is being considered to be one of Remedy's finest games to date. And this makes me very happy, because I'm a Remedy fan since Max Payne days, since slow motion was first brought into video games, where the character models, if you looked at them today, you'd be like, I'm nauseous just looking. Okay, so I've been a Remedy fan for a long time. Loved Alan Wake, the first one. Loved the arcade version, the mini Alan Wake 2. American Nightmare, which was just like a side project. Loved Quantum Break. And it's funny because our good friend, Noof Nukem, had put out a tweet about people now, championing not only Control on the PlayStation 4 because it's available as a multiplat, but there's been rumors, Drew, that Remedy Games may in fact be the next big studio, and I consider them a AAA studio, that's just my opinion, to go to Sony's worldwide studios to become a part of their first party. Now, the reason why that's come to light and why there's any validity to that is because another good friend of the show, Salty from the Saltiest Gaming Podcast, did a video the other day, 9 minutes, a fantastic video. I highly recommend everybody going to check that out. He talks about that Remedy themselves might have let the cat out of the bag, so to speak, because they had put a bunch of promotional stuff. And there was a little letter there right in the front. And in the front of the letter, they said thank you to one of Sony's first-party studios for helping them with the game. Now, some people are saying that was done purposely. Some people are saying it was done accidentally. Certainly, if there was going to be some sort of a buyout, it wouldn't be good because it'd be kind of inside trading, kind of putting that information out before they were bought. Now, in a very strange turn of events, Drew, and of course the 110 people watching, thank you so much for that. The CEO and one of the, I think it was the CFO of Remedy, did something 3 days before the release of Control that had me scratching my head. and they sold their shares of Remedy. And I got to be honest with you, it was a little bit of a head scratcher, and I have the numbers in front of me. This whole thing happened on the 21st, 6 days ahead of Control's release on August 27th. The guy's name is I'm going to butcher it, so I apologize in advance. It's Vertala, I believe that's how it's pronounced, sold 20,000 of his shares at an average of £12.53, totaling over 250,000 pounds. While Maki, who is, I believe, Maki is the CEO. Maki is the chairman. His name is Marcus Maki. He is the chairman of Remedy Games, and the Remedy Entertainment CEO is Tero Vertala. Vertala only had 250,000, made 250,000 pounds, while Maki, now this is where it gets into the big bucks, he had 150,000 shares sold at 12.50 pounds, which came to a whopping 1.875 million pounds. Now, again, this is strange. It makes me wonder if something nefarious is going on. Now, when you see people starting to sell, maybe they felt they had to sell to Sony and they didn't want no part of the deal. I don't know. That's speculation. But I kind of just want to rewind this for a second. I don't have control. Right now, I'm currently waiting to hear from the PR of 505 Games, who published the game. I want to do a review on Double Barrel Gaming, and I'm waiting to hear from them because that's why I haven't bought it yet. I believe the guy was out of town, and hopefully I'll be able to get a review copy and get you guys a real review, because I'm a huge Remedy fan, and to be able to review this on the channel would be a tremendous honor, and it's something big for this for the small but growing channel. But I want to talk about the scores on this game because, Quantum Break is another title that many people have not played. As a matter of fact, there are some people now, aiming to pick it up because they're like, oh, well, there's a new Remedy game. Let me see what the last thing they did. I can guarantee you that if you have not played Quantum Break, I think you're going to be heavily impressed with what they were able to do, especially if you play it on the X, because it's enhanced. It's 4K enhanced. The game looks amazing. It has great storytelling. It has great combat. It has great, slowing of time mechanics. But it never got a chance, Drew. So here are the scores, and I'm going to get your opinion on Remedy, whether or not it's for you, and why this craziness is happening. Here are some of the review scores that have been published on Metacritic, by the way. Now, the Metacritic scores average for the Xbox are 84. For the PlayStation 4, 81, and for the PC, it's 85. Now, the PS4 is 3 points lower. Not a significant, huge amount lower, but FYI, it runs at 1080p on the PlayStation 4 Pro. That's the Pro. It runs at 1080p. Whereas on the X, it runs the best. It runs at, I believe, 1440p. And it looks and runs a lot better. There's been a lot of talk about the PlayStation version having significant slowdown and clipping issues. I don't have it in front of me, so I can only report on what has been put out there on social media. But here are the scores. EGM gives it 100. GameSpot gives it an 80. Screen Rant gives it a 90. IGN gives it an 8.8. Dual Shockers with a 7.5. Destructoid 9, and Game Informer 8.75. Now, this is a game that is scoring relatively well. I cannot wait to get my hands on it, whether I get it as a review copy or I have to go out and buy it myself. Either or, I'm going to play this game. Drew, what are your thoughts on Control, on the reviews that it's getting, and more importantly, on the back end of this question, do you think there's any validity to Sony possibly adding Remedy to their worldwide studio's first party, and does the sale of the stocks from two of the higher-ups that are part of Remedy Entertainment indicate this?
Well, on the review scores, I'll say that it's obviously doing very well. And I haven't got Control myself. I did play Quantum Break and thought Quantum Break was a good game, and I've heard from a few people that played Control. I've heard really torn feedback, to be honest. Like some of the people I speak to from the States, who've been playing it since it dropped, like since the minute it went live. A couple of them have said that it's like it shits on Quantum Break. Quantum Break can't hold a candle to Control. Control's amazing. And then some other people I've spoken to, Chief specifically, has actually said that it's it literally looks and feels nigh on the same. Like, which leads me to this: like with all these great scores it's getting, if in fact, I mean, I'm going to ask the chat now because I have not played it. Can anyone confirm that it is pretty much the same sort of game as Quantum Break, or is it on a whole other level? Put a 1 if it's similar to Quantum Break, or 2 if it's a totally different game, in your opinion. Because I don't know who to listen to at this point, Boom. Because
some people are saying it's basically Quantum Break 2 with a different protagonist.
Yeah, that's pretty much word for word what one of the guys have said to me. And like, say to that, based on the scores. Before I go into like the Sony stuff, if there's any truth to it being like almost like for like the same game as Quantum Break, but with a woman instead of a bloke, then I gotta call bullshit and hypocrisy because Quantum Break, honestly, man, I have to do it. I keep it real over here in these Welsh streets. Like, if that is true, obviously I can't say on a personal level because I haven't played it, but if that is true, Boom, I have to call hypocrisy because that game, Quantum Break, got pulled through the mud.
It did.
It was slated by all the media outlets. And where's these scores are like 84, 18, 90, 100? I can't remember off the top of my head, but it wouldn't surprise me if Quantum Break got 60s, 70s, and 50s instead.
You know, it's funny. It's funny you should mention that. I don't mean to cut you off, but I kind of want to just bring this to your attention. Polygon, who dragged Quantum Break through the mud, basically put this game on their shoulders and were heralding it as one of the best games in 2019. So my question is there double standards?
Oh, mate, double. That's what I'm saying. Like I said, to be completely transparent to the chat, I have not played Control, so I can't compare. But I have heard a lot of people saying it is pretty much the same game, but with a female protagonist instead of a male protagonist. And if that side of the argument is true, then I call bullshit, hypocrisy, and just I need to know where the mind's at with some of these people because Quantum Break got dragged through the mud. And I remember when I saw the trailer for Control, Boom, back at E3, whatever year, and that was my first impression. I saw it and thought, oh wow, like it literally looks like Quantum Break, like, which I didn't mind that because frankly I kind of thought that Control was a spiritual sequel to Quantum Break, but going multiplat, and they had to change the name to Control because obviously Quantum Break, it was an exclusive to Xbox, so if they wanted to keep making those games, then they had to change the name and whatever. Like, I kind of thought that was the angle here, so I have to call bullshit on that. But with regards to Remedy potentially being acquired by Sony, I mean, the numbers don't lie. I mean, Remedy, like, what did you say? Remedy's CEO and CFO basically like dropped their investment in the stocks with regards to Control and Remedy or something like that.
Yes, yeah. Hold on. Let me pull it up. I'll pull up the exact numbers, exactly what they sold off, because it was a significant amount. The CEO sold off 20,000 shares at an average of almost £13 per share, while the Maki, who is he is the chairman of Remedy Entertainment, sold off 150,000 shares at almost $13 per, for a pound, which came to almost just a hair under £2 million.
Yeah, now to be fair, with those kind of numbers, I mean, for anyone who was hoping for Remedy snatched up by Xbox, I wouldn't get your hopes up. I frankly, from what I'm hearing, based on the scores of Control, the fact that they want to, Remedy, want to pursue obviously development of more games, and with the inside thing that you were saying with regards to Salty's video, with them sort of like behind closed doors working closely with Sony, if there is truth to that, that waves a few flags. Like if Control was an exclusive to PlayStation, like Quantum Break was an exclusive to Xbox, then I wouldn't bat an eyelid at that kind of information. I'd be like, well, obviously that makes perfect sense. But as it's a multi-plat, I don't know. I think we possibly might have another Insomniac situation on our hands, and with Remedy dropping their shares in other areas of the market, kind of leads me to believe that they're going to be putting their stock into Sony. And
maybe,
again, it could be just coincidence, but
one thing we've learned of doing these shows, there's no such thing as marketing and gaming coincidences.
Yeah, well, no, you literally took the words right out of Boom. Like, it does seem that way, yes. I would go to say, if you were asking me right now, do you believe by a Remedy, I'd say it's looking likely. I'd say based on the information provided, there's an 80 to 90% chance of that happening, if I'm just speaking honestly from my perspective. But yeah, man, I mean, I've been looking at the chat, and half a dozen people are agreeing with me, and a few people I've seen dropping a 1, which is what I asked them to do if Quantum Break and Control looked very similar and played very similar and were basically the same game. So, yeah, I gotta be honest. Two things I can take from this topic, Boom. One, all those reviewers out there who slated Quantum Break and are now praising Control, fuck you, you bastards. And secondly, to take away from this topic, if I was a betting man, based on the information, I'd go to say maybe by E3 next year, we might see Remedy acquired by Sony. But other than that, Boom, very interesting. All I can say is that I love topics like this, to be honest, Boom, because it gets me off guard. Because like if you drop a topic my way about Halo or Gears or Phil Spencer, I can come at you with stuff that people have probably forgotten about that dates back to the 360 era. I can drop knowledge like a rapper spits bars. But with this sort of stuff, you have to really knuckle down and have a good think. And read between the lines and come to your own conclusions, which you could either be very accurate or totally off the mark.
Yes,
I agree. But those two things I said to you, I think I stand by. The bastards who gave Quantum Break a slate in, you can suck bloody donkey dick because you're hypocrites. And the people who, and with regards to Remedy's acquisition potentially being acquired by Sony, I'd say it's looking promising for people who want to see that happen. So, yeah.
Well, I want to say this about Remedy. Again, this is because I'm a fan. They fit the mold of what Sony does.
Yeah,
single player.
I'm glad you said that, because I'm a fan of Remedy too. I love playing games. I really liked Quantum Break. I did really like Quantum Break. It's my favorite game, but I did really like it. And this is hand on heart truth, Boom, and then I'll pass you the mic back instantly because I didn't want to cut you off.
No, it's okay.
But the moment I finished playing Quantum Break, the, say, 8 hours, 10 hours of campaign that it was, if I'm just throwing a number out there, with no multiplayer, no co-op, just a 8-hour, one-dimensional, story-driven experience with the main protagonist and a lot of dialogue and cutscenes and all these different things, as well as a TV show, no less.
Right.
The moment I finished that game, do you know what I said to myself? And this is on my life, Boom. I said that didn't seem like an Xbox game. I felt like I was playing a PlayStation game.
Well, there you go.
And that's the truth. That's the truth. So the fact that Remedy has gone forward with a Quantum Break game, let's just call it a Quantum Break 2, but just change the name, and they're in talks with Sony behind closed doors, and Remedy have dropped their stocks everywhere else, it's just looking very likely that Quantum Remedy are doing what they probably should have done in the first place. Because like you said, and I agree with you, their style of game does suit the Sony platform more than it suits the Xbox platform, if I'm being completely honest. And that's
it certainly does. It does, no doubt.
Definitely. But you take the mic back, man. Sorry for cutting you off.
No, don't be silly. Listen, this is a conversational podcast. This is what we do. So getting back to, a lot of people may or may not know this. You see, some people in the community have said that, well, there's bad blood between Remedy and Microsoft. They were too involved with Quantum Break, and they didn't want to, do an Alan Wake sequel. Because this is, again, if you're not in the know, maybe you're new to the Xbox platform, Remedy themselves have an Alan Wake 2 ready to go. Microsoft, once again, did not want to publish, and they sat on it. So, I mean, it's one of those things, why? Who's to blame? Is it Microsoft? Did they have no confidence? Does Remedy take too long to make games? But there is not bad blood. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of people did not know this. During E3 2019, a game called Crossfire X was announced for the Xbox One. It's an exclusive. It's an older game, and it actually did very well in China, it saw massive success there. They decided to bring it over here, and I guess not a lot of people are in the know about this. Remedy Entertainment is currently hard at work on the single-player campaign for this title. That's going to be a new title when it launches on the Xbox One in the middle of next year. I bet you didn't know that. A lot of people didn't know that. So they're working with Microsoft. They're just not owned by Microsoft or Sony at this point. But before we move on to the next topic, I have to thank several people. First of all, LMNOP once again drops an additional 2 $5 super chats. Dude, the generosity is not to be believed. Thank you so much. His first comment says, I think MS thought it was better to play the long game with games and services. With Sea of Thieves and State of Decay, it seems to be paying off. And yes, those are service-based games. People are still playing them. They're still both fantastic games. They continue to add to. So you cannot deny how amazing both of these titles are now as to compare to what they originally were. And his second comment, if I could just find it right here, hold on just a second. He says Remedy feels more like Bungie as a company. They prefer to remain indie. Yeah, and you know what? That's again, that's a great point. And they've said that publicly, that they were like remaining under their own umbrella. But we also have to think back just a couple of years ago that when there was talk about maybe Microsoft buying, Insomniac, Ted Price himself says, we enjoy being independent, and look where they are now. They're part of Sony's worldwide studios. So it's not too far-fetched to believe, Drew, that we could, in fact, see a purchase, if not now, maybe sometime in the near future. But I also have to thank a new channel member who has been not only on this show, not on many other shows, who's also a part of Primetime Gaming with MrBooMStickXL. His unbelievable, I'm so grateful that he's now a channel member, is of course Tempest's son. So thank you so much, dude. I do greatly appreciate the support, and of course I really enjoy working with you because the guy is really knowledgeable when it comes to games. But I want to talk about the next topic, and it's a good one. For the last couple of months, Drew, you and I have talked privately, and the one recurring issue with the Xbox fan base, for many content creators, as well as many people just in the community who enjoy listening to shows, there has been a sky is falling at Microsoft mentality. I call it ridiculous. I say that it's nonsense. Well, in a story that I pulled from GameIndustry.biz, it should really calm the fears of everyone that has been worried about whether or not Gears 5 is going to show up on the PlayStation 4, which is, of course, not. According to the story, Microsoft has no plans to release more Xbox exclusives on the PlayStation 4 or Nintendo Switch, and the company is focused on its own platform. Well, I mean, I think that kind of says it all. Apparently, it's not enough for the community, Drew, which is why I did this story. Now, here is a direct statement from Microsoft. The past year has been an exciting time for us as we have more than doubled our internal studio creative teams making up the Xbox Game Studios brand. As these new studios transitioned in, we were aware that some existing commitments to other platforms that needed to be honored, and they will honor them. However, going forward, these studios will focus on making games for our platform. We have no plans to further expand our exclusive first-party games to other consoles. We continue to believe deeply in cross-play and cross-progression of games with the right flexibility for developers to ensure a fair and fun experience. Now, as we know, Xbox does plan to make its IPs accessible through devices like, of course, xCloud, meaning that you'll be able to play your game where you want to play it. But just to kind of add more, ice cream to this sundae that I'm building, Aaron Greenburg had something to say on the matter. And he said this: our internal studios are focused on making games for our platforms, meaning the Xbox and PC. We have a set of teams that are working on exclusive first-party games, and we don't plan to make changes to that. What I'm excited about is that we've added 8 new studios, and each of these studios that we acquired are working on multiple projects. Now, again, this is someone that's considered a higher-up brass of Microsoft adding to this. Drew, why are people still saying the sky is falling and that Halo Infinite is going to be on the PlayStation 5?
Oh, God, I don't know. Oh, man, I don't know. To be honest, right, like, I've said this before and I'll say it again, because obviously, like, I'm very open and honest with this kind of, like, topic. Like, I've said it honest here, Boom, like, on this very show, and I've stated time and time again that as long as I can play my games, I don't care where they go. But yeah, I don't know. Do you know what? I just don't get how people come to these conclusions with like no real evidence to back it up. Like and games like Halo Infinite and that, like I said, if I can play it, I don't really care. But oh God. Well, what are your thoughts on the matter, Boom? Let's hear it.
Well, I mean, look, here's the thing. Obviously, the Microsoft first-party games, the Xbox Game Studio brand, in its title says Xbox, meaning that you're going to be able to play your games, their first-party games on the Xbox. Now, if you choose to become a part of the PC master race, we know that you're going to be able to play it there as well. And this is what kind of frustrates me as a human being, not just as a gamer. It's just as a human being with, I think I have enough sense as a almost 49-year-old man, is that when I say exclusive, the fact that I have to explain that what the exclusive is almost sickening. Because when I say exclusive, maybe because I'm an old school gamer, if I can't play it on the PS4 and I can't play it on the Nintendo Switch, it is an exclusive to the Xbox, because Xbox is PC and PC is Xbox. Like, I don't understand where people can't get the correlation of that. But I also understand that this is a very younger community, and that some, the console wars or the plastic wars are raging fires that will never go out, never be extinguished, because it's an immature generation, unfortunately. Now, I'm not saying everybody is. I'm just saying that the logic is there. The sense is there. If you can't play it on the PS4 and you can't play it on the Switch, quite simply, it's an exclusive. Now, with the xCloud coming into beta this year, and then obviously launching worldwide probably somewhere in the first quarter of 2020, you're going to be able to play games anywhere you want, on your PC, on your tablet, on your phone, holding a phone in that device, or a controller, holding a cell phone, whatever. Now, obviously, if you follow me on this, you've seen that I actually played Halo 5 at E3 using the xCloud, and it worked and looked amazing. So there's going to be other ways to play your games, but you still can't play these games on, again, for the third time of this show, on the PS4, PS5, or on the Switch or the Switch Pro that is rumored to be releasing next year. Why that people don't understand that, Drew? It's a conundrum.
I gotta be honest, Boom. I was when you started reading out the beginning of this topic, I was very much excited to hear you say, "I effing told you so." Hello? Yeah. No, it's all right, man. Because, like, honestly, like, the fact that they had to come out and, like, I'm going to just go out on a limb here. Like, Aaron Greenburg having to come out and confirm this for the masses. Like I said, Boom, you know, I don't care where my games go as long as I can play them. Even more to my point, Boom, I don't know if you'll agree with me. Put a 1 in the description, in the chat if you agree, 2 if you disagree with what I'm about to say. But more to my point on that matter, Boom, is if I had any pull at Microsoft, if I had any pull at all, if I was Phil Spencer and I could chew on Satya Nadella's earlobe any day, I would be urging that Xbox would reconsider this and actually greenlight Xbox Game Pass as a downloadable app on any and all platforms, including PlayStation and Nintendo. Giving the option for more and more people to subscribe to the service and in turn putting more money in Xbox's pocket. The same way with Amazon Prime Video or Netflix, there is an application that is accessible on just about any device you can think of, including Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, and any smart TV. And it's maximum profit, which in turn funds more original content for their services like Stranger Things and Mindhunter. But obviously, Boom, I'm just the Welsh gamer, the daft bastard from Wales. Not London, to be specific, but from Wales. So obviously I have no pull. I have absolutely no say in what Microsoft does and with their, you know, with regards to their business decisions. But with regards to the direct statement, Boom, with regards to Aaron Greenburg confirming for the masses, like, hey, no, our games are not going on the other platforms. Obviously, he's referring to PlayStation, Nintendo. The fact that they have to announce officially that Xbox games will remain in and own the Xbox ecosystem comes to no shock of mine at all. Even though what I just said, it literally comes to no shock, despite what I just said a moment ago, on what I would like to see personally. And the morons out there that have preached otherwise and claimed that Xbox was doomed, the sky is falling, Xbox is dead. Those people, Boom, they literally need to bath in their own feces as punishment. You know, they literally need to sit in that bathtub and let the feces soak into their pores and let the smell attach itself to them. The same way. So it is, as punishment, the same way that the shit that they have been falsely spreading for far too long, just to prove their utter fuckery and idiocy to the world. As, let's be fair, Boom, I said it before and I'll say it again. There's never been any proof of such a claim.
Now, it was only speculation. From the beginning, it was only speculation.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, that's the fear-mongering inside of these people. The people who are stuck in yesterday. They hear the words, Xbox is releasing the xCloud. It's going to allow you to play on multiple devices with Play Anywhere, cross devices, and automatically people assume they mean PlayStation, Nintendo as well. And, like, honestly, like in the media outlets that ran with their clickbait, anti-Xbox narrative stories, Xbox is doomed, they're fucked, they're setting themselves up for failure.
They're going to go bankrupt, they're going to sell the gaming studios.
Honestly, like we could sit here for an hour pulling up the articles. It's quite hilarious, like to say the least. And not to mention the infinite supply of the Xbox-hating Twitter accounts and YouTube channels. All of these people, Boom, can now eat a large plate of crow because there was never information to support this and people ran with it as if it were fact. And as much as I'd like to see that happen, I'm not going to lie, because as a gamer, like the more money Xbox gets, yes, I don't get a cut of it, but I technically do, because for all the money they get, there's more games that'll be dropping in Game Pass for, oh, wow, newsflash, me, the bloody gamer who pays for the service. So I'm going to end on this. I'll ask you to say, because you haven't said it yet, Boom, but I'm going to ask you to say loud and proud for our lovely audience, I effing told you so. I need to hear it from your mouth, Boom.
Well, I won't curse because I try to keep this PG, but I will say I effing told you so that this was not going to happen. But before we move on to the next topic, which is going to be a fun one each and every week that we've announced, I have to thank Nightwolf3186 not only for the outstanding generosity of $5 in the super chat, it's his comment that warms the heart dear and near to both of us. He says the PB&J hosts of gaming are back. So good to hear your voice, Welsh, you bastard. He says, Boom, you never fail to entertain us, but love hearing these topics. Yeah, well, first of all, dude, that's thanks for saying that, dude. That you got to understand, we get a lot of really negative, sometimes horrible comments, which are fine. You know, you kind of let them roll off your back. But when you hear stuff like that, it really does make doing all the hard work worth it. And I cannot thank you enough, not only for the $5, but the really heartwarming and thought-provoking comment. That is really nice of you to say, and we're glad that you're enjoying the show, my friend. But I want to move on to something that I talked about with Welsh. We were going to launch this a couple of weeks ago, and of course, because we had so much Xbox news, it kept getting pushed back. So I'm officially announcing that we're going to be doing each and every Xbox show our Xbox Game Pass pick of the week. And the reason why I want to do that is because obviously Xbox Game Pass is the greatest thing since sliced bread. I love the service so much, and I'm paid up until 5/20/22. So I am good for years, and I highly recommend everyone going. That if you're not sub to it, you definitely should subscribe to Xbox Game Pass. I mean, first of all, tomorrow the Blair Witch drops in there, and I cannot wait for that game. And of course, a couple of days later, if you're an Ultimate subscriber, Gears 5, folks. I mean, come on. I mean, it's the deals that they're running. I think it's 2 months Ultimate Game Pass for $2. Jump in, man, and give it a shot if you've never did it. But I have actually two, because this, this particular topic was kind of backtrack a few weeks. The first pick that I have is a small title that was originally crowdfunded and eventually published by THQ Nordic and was released on October 3rd of 2017. And the game that I literally cannot stop playing, Drew and chat, is called Battle Chasers Night War. And I have to say, it's probably one of the best turn-based RPGs I've played this generation. Tons of depth, character customization, and magic supers on the line of Final Fantasy VII. Not as elaborate. You know, you're not going to get a Knights of the Round kind of a thing, but their supers are pretty awesome. I'm like 40 hours into it, and definitely it's going to be one of my top 10 games played in 2019, even though the game came out originally in 2017. But I definitely think it's something that everyone should give it a shot. Again, it's called Battle Chasers Night War. And the next one is a smaller title that I have been playing nonstop. If you follow me, if you're on my friends list, you see I've been popping achievements left and right. It's called Yoku's Island Express. And it's a title that's developed by Guerrilla Games. Not Guerrilla Games of Sony, but it's called Villa Guerrilla. And it was founded in Stockholm, Sweden in 2013. The title was released in 2018. And I got to be honest with you, it's a sleeper hit. And I didn't get a chance to play it last year. I am really excited that I'm playing it now because it has the feel of Banjo-Kazooie, Ori and the Blind Forest, and it's a Metrovania with, yes, pinball aspects to it. Now, yes, it sounds wacky, but I'm going to tell you it is a charming little title that many people passed on. It's a side-scroller. It's hand-drawn. It looks gorgeous. And I really, really think everyone should give it a shot. It's on there for you to download right now and play if you, of course, are subscribed to Xbox Game Pass. Drew, what are your titles that are like hidden gems on the service?
Well, I got to be honest, I only have the one title.
That's
but it's
okay,
only because,
that's fine.
Yeah, it's only because, obviously, this is the same game I was going to recommend the first week I was back. And I've just saved it for when we did this bit. But my opinion hasn't changed. And I got to jump on the back of what you're saying, though, Boom. Like, Game Pass, anyone listening who haven't subscribed to this service already, like, honest, like, It is a money saver, an absolute money saver. Not to mention the Game Pass Ultimate service is phenomenal. It's over here, I think it's like £8 a month or £9 a month, and it's your Xbox Live Gold and Game Pass all in one. And still, after a 12-month period, you are only spending the equivalent, or just under the equivalent, of just 2 AAA games. Now, Boom just said that Blair Witch is dropping tomorrow, and then in little over a week then, we're getting Gears 5. Not to mention, like Crackdown 3 dropped like early this year or whatever it was. Like it's just, and you don't pay an extra penny. It is phenomenal. But speaking of Crackdown 3, Crackdown 3 is my choice, Boom, and I highly recommend, and here is why. For all that jumped on the bandwagon after the release of PS4's Spider-Man, saying that Xbox needs to get an exclusive superhero game, and I, for one, Boom, I'm an honest cat, I will hold my hand up and admit I was one of those people too. I have just the game for you. With the wingsuit ability, upgradable agent sports car that can turn into a fully loaded military tank or a car that climbs walls, being able to level up your agent from a normal human being like me or you to a superhuman soldier with the ability to throw a lorry, jump over buildings, cause explosions with one punch, and sprint faster than traffic. Crackdown 3 feels like Batman, the Incredible Hulk, and Captain America had a baby in a cyberpunk future city. Not to mention all of the gun options, like the black hole gun, the tether gun, as well as many, many more. The imagination behind this game, Boom, is incredible. Not to mention again, that the visuals, the colorful, vibrant, cel-shaded, comic booky visuals in 4K are nothing short of stunning. Now, I'll admit, I am very, very late to the party. People in the chat are probably going, Jesus Christ, Welsh, have you been living under a fucking rock, you stupid bastard? Honestly, I am late to the party, Boom. I'll admit that wholeheartedly. And I'm very late to playing this game, as I only started it recently, as far back as maybe just under a month ago, maybe about a week before the first show where I returned, because that's why it was my pick. So I haven't been playing it long, but I can say that Crackdown 3 is in fact that over-the-top superhero experience I wanted, and it is really fun. Now, I have to emphasize the word fun here, Boom.
Hashtag fun.
Honestly, hashtag fun, people. I cannot believe it's taken me this long to play it, and it also has co-op. It's another incredible, and I'm going to emphasize this as well, single-player game which you can play for hours and hours on your own. But the fact you can play as well with 2-player online co-op is excellent. Me and my buddy the other week, Boom, my buddy from home, he came over my house. I got him to download Crackdown 3. We had 2 Xboxes set up with 2 TVs, and we did a whole playthrough in co-op, and we did not stop laughing at all the chaos we caused. It was incredible. For me, Boom, after a long wait in what seems to be an endless backlog, I finally got to play this game, and I truly love it. So this week's pick for me has to be Crackdown 3. That game has been overlooked by myself and many other people, not to mention unfairly scrutinized by the media and Xbox haters. So it gives me great pleasure to finally confirm that this is a brilliant title for Xbox, and I cannot recommend it enough, especially if you're a fan of Marvel's Captain America and the Incredible Hulk, because I feel it's a great comparison, and it is free to download right now on Xbox.
And it's still being
Game Pass.
see, you know, what I want to add to this is, for a game that was supposedly DOA, right? Oh my God, it's dead on arrival. You know, it didn't have the break, you know, the destruction like they said. Microsoft lied. I'm not going to get into that. But you have to give credit where credit is due, folks. The game is still being supported. The Wingsuit DLC, which changes the entire game, it literally makes using a car, you don't have to be bothered. You can fly all over the city on top of already being able to jump like the Hulk in Ultimate Destruction from the OG Xbox days, right? This is a title, again, supposedly being DOA, is still being supported with free DLC, Welsh.
Yep, no, it's phenomenal. And I got to jump on the back. Well, the wreckage zone and the 100. I will never, ever, you'll never hear me say, Microsoft, stop trying to innovate and evolve and try new things. No, I commend them heavily for going for it and really trying to pull off that 100% destructible environments. And in the Wrecking Zone multiplayer, it is there, but obviously a lot of people had their hopes up for it being in the single player, and it did not happen. Understandably, people would be hurt by that information. And for that, I say, I got to be honest, the fact that they emphasized that so early on in Crackdown 3's development, I do believe that is what hurt the game on launch, because people were expecting a certain level of destruction that didn't happen. So there's a lesson to be learned. By all means, innovate and push the boundaries, but hold your cards close to the chest, and don't bet high on the poker table unless you know you've got a royal flush on your hands, is what I'm saying. Very good game. Like, a very good game. It's not like every other game that is available today has like the destructible environments, and Crackdown 3 is the only one that doesn't. It's part of it's part of the gang. It's still a very good game. It just hasn't pushed the boundary that we were expecting initially. But man, honestly, dude, Sir Galahad said, "Can Crackdown campaign be played in co-op?" Yes.
Yes, it can be co-op. Yes, correct.
Two-player co-op. You can do a whole run through. You can start from scratch or play with your agent. It's amazing, man. It's a real sandbox, a great story, a great ladder to climb from scratch as like a nobody that can barely like put a dent in a bloody side of a car door, to like being able to do all these crazy things. Mate, honestly, absolutely phenomenal game. Got truly overlooked. I'll be the first one to admit that. I did not play it as much as I should have at launch. I had it downloaded day one, and I played a bit of it, but it just got lost in my backlog. But that is my pick of the week. It is a phenomenal game. I highly recommend it. And guys, you'll be letting yourself down if you don't subscribe to this Game Pass service. If you're an Xbox player through and through and you love the content, you're just doing yourself a disservice by not subscribing to this service. And if you are already part of the service, do yourself a justice and get your hands on Crackdown. It is phenomenal.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point. Well, real quick, I have to shout out Goth Witch Girl in the chat. She says Torchlight 2, which if you don't know, that's coming out September 3rd. Mrs. Boomstick and I are really excited about that because we love those top-down co-op games that are like D&D. Back in the days, Mrs. Boomstick and I used to play Champions of Norath on the PlayStation 2 and Boldar's Gate 1 and 2, and of course Diablo 3, which I really wish they could learn to count to 4 and give us a Diablo 4 in some way, hopefully in our future. But Torchlight 2 is Torchlight, the original one, I believe was one of the free games with gold. It was a single player game, again like Diablo style, but Torchlight 2 gives you the ability to play co-op, couch co-op, and I believe online co-op. It looks phenomenal. That comes out again September 3rd. It's only $20. I haven't bought it yet because I have a feeling that it's going into Game Pass. Now, I don't have any inside track. It's just I'm trying to line up the cards. Torchlight 1 goes free for games with gold, and possibly Torchlight 2 goes into Game Pass. Now, I know there's some people in the chat asking, do we have any information about games with gold for September? The answer is no. I checked 30 seconds ago, both on the Xbox Wire, on Twitter, and Larry Herb, who we know is as Major Nelson. No one has said anything about that or anything coming into Game Pass. So as soon as those stories drop, I might do a small little podcast or just a couple of videos kind of just making the announcement for that. But I want to move on to the next topic, Drew, and I think it's an interesting one that kind of hurt my heart a little bit. I got to be honest with you. In a story that I pulled from the pages of GamingBolt.com, one of my personal favorite places to gather my information, Aaron Greenburg makes the newspaper once again. He has confirmed that Microsoft is done acquiring studios for now. Now, in truth, I was a little taken aback. I got to be honest. Now, Microsoft, as we all know, has in a relatively short time, grew with several key acquisitions over the last year. 18 months to give it, maybe 14 months, give or take. Obviously they got title, and I don't think they're small. Ninja Theory, AAA developer, they just need the money. Double Fine, that's a big get. That's a big get, folks. Obsidian, huge get for Microsoft's first party. But the inevitable question comes now, who's next? When will the next studio be announced by Microsoft as being added to their first-party studios? I'm going to be honest with you. I think a lot of us were expecting 2 to 3 during E3, but we got Double Fine. I was happy. We thought that Gamescom and Inside Xbox, we were going to get one. We did not. XO19, which is launching in London on November 14th of 2019, is going to be a big show. In fact, it's according to Aaron Greenburg, be one of the biggest Microsoft events this year. And considering coming off of E3, I'm excited. So I'm thinking maybe, Drew, just maybe, he's kind of shifting people's attention away so their expectations are low, and then they surprise us with, let's say, a Platinum Games is now part of Microsoft first party, because that's where I think they're going next. I mean, again, no inside information here, but they have said that they wanted a Japanese-based studio, and my God, Platinum Games would be amazing, even though they had a little, hiccup with Scalebound. I think that cooler heads have prevailed, and they would do very well for the Microsoft first party. But in an interview with Twinfinite, Microsoft's Aaron Greenberg discussed a lot about the current state of Xbox Game Studios. And when it came to talking about acquisitions, he put over how much talent they currently have, and that for the time being, they probably won't be any major acquisitions in the near future. He leaves the door open, though, for it to eventually happen again. And here is what Aaron Greenberg had to say, chat. It's been exciting, and it's been great getting to know all of these teams. Going out and sitting down with Ninja Theory or our team at Obsidian or in Exile and seeing the stuff they're working on. Now that the people know about the acquisition and the secret things they have in the works, we have a lot to look forward to. And in time, we'll be sharing more about what they're working on. And he finishes off with this, Drew. I think we feel good about the level of content we have coming from our internal studios, but felt good about that. And then the opportunity with Double Fine came, and it was a perfect fit. Now, Drew, are you a little taken aback like me about them slowing their roll or pumping their brakes when it comes to getting more studios? Or do you think that this is some sort of workaround to kind of maybe surprise the fan base?
You know what? Out of all the topics, Boom, this is the one I've been looking forward to the most, because of all the topics, between this one and the Remedy one with stocks and stuff, this is one of those ones where I had to really knuckle down and give it a good hard think. Now, personally, at first glance, when I read this topic, my initial understand why you would pump brakes at this point. Because if I was Microsoft, it'd be like, I'm going to acquire as many studios as humanly possible. Don't set an end date. If you see an opportunity, grab it by the balls.
Take it, yes.
Yeah. The moment you step off the gas, Boom, you leave the market wide open for other platforms to acquire these ready-for-the-taking studios. And that much we can agree with. We can. That is still true, despite what I'm about to say. But playing devil's advocate, Boom, on the other hand, maybe Xbox is hitting the brakes for now because they want to put 100% of their concentration on the projects under the studios they already have right now, which I do understand that too. Just look at the Initiative and Playground Games as prime examples before you even look at the other 13 first-party studios under the Xbox umbrella. The Initiative, we have speculated live on this very show, Boom, to be working on at least 2 or 3 projects due to the sheer amount of talent they have hired for that one studio.
Yep.
So the initiative in my books, for me, counts as a 3 studios under one roof development.
Yes, that's a great point.
From where I'm sitting, that I could be wrong. We could all be wrong. But from where I'm sitting, that's how it looks. Then we have Playground Games, Boom. Now, that studio is known for Forza Horizon. Obviously continue to do Horizon games, as well as the confirmed but unannounced open world RPG project they're working on right now as we speak. So already, Boom, that is 5 projects being developed by only 2 of the Xbox first-party studios. And then that's without even mentioning the 13 other studios either working on one or several projects. So when you take a step back, like I said, my initial reaction was, no, what are you doing? But when you take a step back and acknowledge what I just said, and you sit back and acknowledge that, Boom, it makes sense to me. It
does, absolutely.
That Xbox aren't in a rush to acquire another 5 studios right this minute. Another thing for me, Boom, is this. Yes, we can all agree there is a cesspool of talent out there ripe for the taking, like the recent Insomniac games who were acquired by Sony. And we could quite easily shout from the rooftops, yo, Microsoft, you bastards! What are you waiting for? Pull the checkbook out already. But maybe, Boom, just maybe, Xbox wants to go back to the drawing board and create more of their own studios.
Yes, great point, dude. Nice.
Honestly, maybe that's what they're doing. Like, they've got a lot of ready. Studios like the Initiative from the ground up, big quadruple A studios. A studio, should I say? I say studios because I'm sure they're working on multiple projects. But, maybe they are going back to the drawing board, wanting to create some of their own studios from the ground up to opposed to buying existing studios. As there is plenty, Boom, of untapped classics from the OG days like Mecha Salt and Perfect Dark that they could revive with a new Xbox-made studio. But then with new studios, Boom, comes new responsibilities, new opportunities. With new studios created by Xbox, like the Initiative, there is opportunity to create brand new original IPs and experiences never before seen. So it's an interesting topic here, Boom, as there are so many variables here. But I'll end on this, though. After Aaron Greenberg's official statement, we know that there'll be more Xbox studios to come, whether by acquisition or created from the ground up. That remains to be seen. What we do know is that they are not nearly finished when it comes to expanding their studio count. But what I will say is, for now, for one, I am very excited to see what the studios we already have are working on, as there is a large pool of talent and unannounced projects that I am so eager to see.
Well, I mean, listen, you actually touched on a really good point. Every other day we're seeing someone just is going on to the Initiative, and Drew will then, of course, say, "What the hell is going on?"
Doing to the Initiative? What the hell are they doing to the Initiative?
Yeah, well, and there you go. Look, folks, here's the thing. You know the old saying, "Too many chefs spoil the soup." Well, the talent that they are getting. Obviously, it's a significant amount.
I'm going to correct you. The talent they already have.
Well, that is true. That is yes. Thank you for that, because yes, the talent they already have and the talent that will eventually be coming over are studio heads at other big time studios like Rocksteady, right? Rockstar, Sony Santa Monica. You name it, they've gotten talent from all over the place. And I've said this before, and I'm really going to kind of stake my pole in the sand here. Everyone thinks that it's just one game they're working on, and I'm very sorry to say I highly doubt the quadruple A developed The Initiative is only working on one title. They have, with the amount of talent that they currently have, the amount of talent that's going there almost on a weekly basis. LinkedIn is constantly being brought up by people finding, I was the studio head here, or I was the important person over here, going to the Initiative. they got to be working on more than one game, or at least laying the groundwork. Now, you brought up a good point. Who's to say that the initiative itself doesn't split into several teams within the initiative, very similar to what Obsidian has? A lot of people don't understand this. Obsidian has 3 teams. I think it might even be 4 under the umbrella of Obsidian, right? One is working on the game that's coming out this year. One is working on the next RPG that's going to be an exclusive that's not the Outer Worlds. It's a new RPG, open world RPG that they're working on. And then, of course, they're working on something else. I mean, they're working on multiple games that are going to be Xbox One exclusives. So it's safe to assume, without sounding like someone that's running around without his pants on, that they got to be working on something more than just the one title that's supposed to be the next open world big RPG. I don't think so. But look, at this point, we can speculate for the next 2 hours and come to the same conclusion. Microsoft has talent. Microsoft has a ton of studios. And 2020 and beyond, it's going to be very exciting to be an Xbox fan. And again, if you are one of these folks or content creators that have been ringing the bell that the sky is falling, I gotta be honest with you, we are an accepting community. We will welcome you back, but you gotta let people know that you were wrong. I think that's the caveat that we have to all accept here. You can't just poop on the Xbox brand and its fans and then just want to come back in when it serves you. I say that you should kind of admit that you were wrong and then come back with your head hung low, and we will herald you up once again. But listen, lot of excitement.
Can I just say one more thing?
Please, by all means.
One thing I am fearful of, though, and this isn't even written down in my notes, is there's always a narrative, right? Whether it's pushed by the media, by the fan base, or by me and you. It's like somehow, even subconsciously, without realizing it, a narrative is always at play. And now the main ones that come to mind is unit sales or game sales or who has the better Metacritic. And obviously the main one, who has the most exclusives. Oh, this is my list of exclusives versus your list of exclusives. But what I will say, just hit me, Boom, is what I would really not like to see, because like we just said, too many cooks spoil the broth. And it is very true. Like, Xbox only has so many sets of eyes, same as Sony, same as any other platform. Like, you can't keep a mindful eye on every single one of your studios at all times. So what I would not like to see as another narrative for people like Phil to buckle under and be like, oh, okay, is how many studios we have versus how many studios you have, because I can imagine that becoming a thing. And I don't want any unnecessary pressure. I don't want Xbox to just break out the checkbook and buy every studio under the sun just because they can. Because quantity doesn't mean quality. Frankly, I'd argue Xbox had more quality under its belt. I say more quality, but it still maintained a pair. But they held a very heavy, consistent level of quality in what they put out, even when they had half the studio count. So now I just see opportunity for more quality to come, but I don't want them to be like, here's a check, get studio for the sake of it. I want them to, if they are going to acquire or build studios, I want them to do it for the right reasons and not because a new narrative has been formed by the media that, Sony has 27 studios and Xbox only has 20. Xbox is fucked. I just don't want to start seeing that, and I am fearful the more we talk about this that could become a thing. But no, I stand by what I said. The talent that we already have. Obviously, they haven't stopped. They haven't, in fact, pumped the brakes. They will acquire or build more studios in the future. But as of right now, man, honestly, if you are a fan of the Xbox platform and you like Xbox games, you are in for a treat. I'm telling you, shit's about to go down. If Halo Infinite Gears 5 and Blair Witch and the games we already know about aren't like already getting your bloody taste buds going. Just I can only imagine what they have behind those curtains at Redmond, honestly. But yeah, I just had to throw that out there. I'm sorry.
No, don't be silly. Not at all. I mean, talking about Gears 5, Jez Corden of Windows Central. We know Jez, right? He's on the Xbox 2 with a good friend of the show, Randall Thor 19. I say if you like this show, check out the Xbox 2 on Randall Thor's channel. Great show, great bunch of guys. He's been saying some cryptic things about Gears 5, about it being amazing. I think he's going to be doing the review. At least I hope he's going to be doing the review because I like Jez's work. But I want to move on to a next story that should excite many people, including myself, who got goosebumps while writing it. Microsoft talks chances of Fable 4 announced at XO19? Drew, is this possible? Well, listen, I'm going to say this. If it happens, it's going to be a tremendous boost morale within the fan base. Phil Spencer and company, and I'm going to say this is my opinion. This is not a part of the story, but I'm going to read the story in a second. Phil Spencer and company really don't have to do too much, Drew. In fact, a title screen, the developer chosen to make it, and whether it's a reboot or re-imaging, is all the information anyone really needs. If it's Playground Games, and I'm pretty sure it's Playground Games, you get them out there, you get the head of Playground, walk out, say, hey folks, listen. We've been working on a little something. We don't have much to show today, but we kind of just want to show the title screen. And he looks up and he lifts his left hand and he puts it up in the sky, and the Fable label comes on, right? The title screen. The world would erupt with joy and cheer. That's all they have to do. Very similar to the 2017 Nintendo event where they just put Metroid Prime 4 and they won E3, right? So it is possible. That's all that they really need to do. But why this is exciting, Drew, is because during the interview, again, with Twinfinite, which I happen to think is a very good site, Xbox Games marketing manager Aaron Greenburg discussed the chances of the much-anticipated Fable 4 getting revealed at XO19. The event is happening, like I said earlier in the show, in London, in the UK, on November 14th through the 16th. Greenberg confirmed, now this is coming out of his mouth, folks, that at the event, which will be the most significant episode of Inside Xbox ever, that's a capital EVER, on November 14th, with never before seen games getting revealed. He didn't want to reveal too much to ruin any of the surprises, though. But here is what he had to say, chat. We have some surprises planned. I'll leave it at that. But yeah, I think it will be we will have a great show. We also have a lot of games coming out in the spring. I think it's the biggest lineup of games we've ever had in the spring. In that window of time between XO and E3, we have a lot of stuff to show and people can get their hands on it and even start talking about it. Now, listen, it is cryptic. And yes, the one thing I will say is that he didn't deny Fable 4 being announced, though he did not confirm it either. And I think that then him coming out and saying nothing, well, I'm a half glass kind of a full dude, right? Like I'm the light in this community when it comes to being positive, because quite frankly, I love being the good guy and I like being a positive dude. And I think that even though there's no confirmation, Drew, that he said, yeah, the next Fable is going to be announced, everyone get excited, he didn't say that it's not getting announced. What are your thoughts on that, Drew?
Well, man, Christ, you're asking me how I'll react. Fable 4 is announced at XO19. Jesus Christ, God damn it! Oh, man. I've said this for a while now, Boom, and I mean it. Like, XO19, I believe, will be the bridge between 2019, the ending of 2019, and what 2020 will look like. We obviously do have E3 next year in 2020, which will be the last big explosion of information and roadmaps and just that big slap in the face that everyone needs. just right before the new generation starts. But XO19, Boom, will be a great opportunity to plant the seeds of what the future will show. And then by E3 2020 and the Scarlet launch, no less, those seeds planted at XO19 will be fully grown oak trees by then. As you well know, Boom, I've been banking. I have been betting. I've been banking on a Fable 4 announcement for the last 2 years or more. Like, it has to be more, but still, just for argument's sake, 2 years plus. And I have been burned hard. It's been honestly, man.
It's almost like Splinter Cell for me. I have called Splinter Cell 4 years in a row, and 4 years in a row I've been wrong.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's the thing. Like, you just called it. Like that. Fable 4 for me is your Splinter Cell, and I have been burned. But you would think the logical gamer would not. It'd make me think twice about getting my hopes up again. But to that I say, screw you! I am not ever gonna unless they literally say out of Phil Spencer's mouth, Fable is not happening. I will never ever let my hope die. I'm still very excited to see what these never before announced titles are, Boom. But if one of them just so happens to be Fable 4, well, I will literally fold with excitement. I cannot express how much that would blow me away. But if not a Fable game, because we have to prepare for that possibility, then please, for the love of God, Xbox, are you listening? Please show us something that is being worked on by either the Initiative or Playground Games. Although it might seem unlikely, as you would think they might save those kind of bombs for E3 2020 right before the Scarlet launch, agreed. But if they did show just a tease at XO19 for one of these never-before-seen projects, as Greenburg touted, under Playground or the Initiative to be specific, and then wait until E3 2020 to drop the full bombshells with the trailers and all the fireworks that go with it, that, Boom, would be nothing short of mind-blowing, and I'm very excited to say the least. I really am. But when Greenburg says this inside Xbox is going to be significant, we've got big announcements, never-before-seen games. Man, honestly, obviously, as a Fable fan, I would love nothing more than for one of those but never-before-seen games to be a Fable. But preparing for the possibility that it isn't, I really don't want to be burned again, and I don't want to be burned twice. I would love to see what the Initiative and or Playground is working on. Now, I've said that for the last 20 conferences in a row, and at this point, I don't have any socks because people keep setting my toes on fire. Honestly, some would think I'm being cooked for someone's feast. I've been burned a lot, man, but I would love to see that stuff. And the thing is, Boom, and it's funny, I've seen a few people saying it in the chat, so I'm not alone thinking this, but Playground Games specifically are a UK-based team, hence why we have heavily speculated that they are the ones working on Fable, as Fable is a UK-centric game, very British. Now, if all the stars do align like I hope they do, and believe me, I'll be on my hands and knees praying with at least 1 million candles and a picture of Phil Spencer on the wall. UK-based, Playground Games, Fable being a UK game, a British game, a UK-centric game, and XO19 is in the UK, in London, and Aaron Greenburg has said never before seen games, and he's almost giggled at the chat of Fable because he didn't want to give confirm anything neither. Those 4 things in line with one another, the stars are aligning, Boom. If there was ever a chance for me to literally just scream I genuinely hope and believe Fable might actually make an appearance at XO19. If there was ever a time to be that hopeful at a Fable announcement being at an event coming up, now is the time, because like we've said, we don't believe in coincidences, and all of these little hints, what better time to do it than having Playground, a UK developer, at a UK a conference like based in the UK to bring to the world the beloved UK franchise that is Fable. Man, if that wasn't too perfect, pinch me, because I'm dreaming.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a great point. Again, I know most people are going to say, temper your expectations. It's an Inside Xbox. It's XO19. Well, last year at XO19, they made several studio acquisition announcements, right? Obviously, why this has a lot of because it's the last big show of the year, because it's going to move us into 2020. The momentum, you see, this what we've seen in this generation is a momentum swing in Sony's favor since the classic and dreadful 2013 E3, right? Like, this is how you share games. And Microsoft just, now they're starting to come around. 2017 is the turning point of the brand, where, yes, it may not be putting out the games before that you wanted, but they're on a high note right now. And the momentum shift went in Sony's way, and they never relinquished that. The way that you end 2019, not only putting out Gears 5, which it's going to be in the high 90s meta. I don't care whether you're a Sony person or not. The game is the game. It's giving you so much in that package. You're getting multiplayer, you're getting co-op, you're getting single player, and it's bigger and better in every one of those aspects. There's no reason why it doesn't show up as a 93, 94, even a 95 a Metacritic. And listen, if you have to judge the game based on the game, regardless of whether you are a Sony guy or gal, or you're just a gamer in general who supports all three like myself, you have to give credit where credit is due. And this is one of those games I think is going to really put the exclamation point on what we want as fans, as Xbox fans, that the Gears 5 quality that I'm almost positive that we're going to get from the pictures and from what we've played already. Wouldn't it be really something special? Wouldn't it just be a momentum shift if Microsoft could close out 2019 with XO19, a Xbox-specific event that is like PSX, except for the Xbox? It's in London. It's a prime time location. It's 3 days. Wouldn't it be amazing, Drew, for them to close out 2019 right before the holiday, right before Thanksgiving here in the States, to really put the exclamation point on this generation and say, okay, we gave you your AAA single player / multiplayer game in Gears 5. Merry Christmas early. And we're going to close out 2019 with a Fable logo. You know who's making it, and maybe a few other surprises. That would be something else. Am I painting a Picasso right now?
Oh, mate, a Picasso. You've taken the whole bloody gallery, mate. Honestly, yes, that's what I mean by plant the seeds. Like, the XO19 is the last time in 2019 Xbox will be on a stage with any kind of presence, with that kind of platform. I mean, they have to do something. They have to do something relatively big. I know people are going to tout, Sony and Inside Xbox, it's only this, it's only that. And I would agree with you 90% of the time. But it's the circumstance that drives me to say that whatever these never-before-seen projects are, or project, I don't know if he said project or projects plural, but it has to be something significant to literally close 2019 with a bang. Because we won't see Xbox on a stage, or at least the only stage that really matters, until E3 next year. So that's a wide berth. There's a lot of time between then and between XO and then. So do it. Just goddamn it, do it. Yeah. And on the more spicier side of life, I couldn't agree any more with you, Boom. Why can't that announcement be Fable? Like, all this good news for Sony and Insomniac and stuff, and like I've said, no-brainer, kudos. I'm happy for them and their fan base. But give Xbox a tickle of that as well. I mean, we got Gears coming in about a week, 2 weeks. That's going to be huge. What a way to end a year. But between that and a literally jaw-dropping announcement at XO19 to close out the year? Yes. Hell yes. How much more clear can I be? Xbox, if you're listening, do not waste this opportunity. And if by the love of Jehovah, this never-before-seen massive announcement you got planned for Inside Xbox is free DLC for Minecraft, I will be hunting people down with a spear. So, I honestly, I can't be any more clear than that. Yes, it's an Inside Xbox. Yes, we've all been burned, but like, it's the opportunity that presents itself, because next year is going to be the big daddy. And I truly believe if Phil and team are smart and they've got anything between their ears, and I mean anything, they will plant a tremendous seed ready to flourish next year. Like you said, Boom, if it is in fact Fable, just show a Fable logo, Playground going, this is what we're working on, boom, da boom, hashtag, everyone's flawed, Twitter goes mad, everyone loses their shit, and then at E3 2020 is where they show the first trailer with some gameplay or something. Mate, if that is not a picture, like, if that ain't a Picasso painting, as you put it, Boom, I don't know what is. Like, perfect. Not to mention, like I said before, UK game with a UK developer at a conference in the UK.
It's actually perfect. It's perfect.
It's too perfect. It is absolutely too perfect. Like when the opportunities like this does not come around that often, and mate, they need to do something big to close out the year. And if it's Fable, I speak for everyone who's a Fable fan when I say I'll probably be curled up under a blanket crying with glee for about 5 hours straight. I won't even come up for air or a drink. The missus is going to have to pour a bucket of water over me, so at least I've had a shower, because I'll just be there like, oh yeah, Fable, yeah, goddammit. Oh man, honestly. And I hope people agree. One, if you agree with what me and Boom are saying, that whether it be Fable or whatever, they need to show something massive at XO to close out the year. Or two, if you think, Welsh, Boom, you're talking madness, you literally need to stop doing this and getting yourselves burnt at the crisp. One, if you agree. Two, if you don't, throw it our way. But yeah, Boom, well, that's all I can say, man. You can rest assured I'll be a giddy child at heart if that happens.
Well, I'm going to say this. This has been an amazing show. A lot of original content that no other show was talking about. We're closing in on 2 hours, and it's been a blast. It's been a lot of fun. So what basically we're going to do is we're going to do some closing statements, get on out of here. I want to thank, of course, the chat for being the chat. You guys are amazing. Lots of video game banter, and that's what you want in these chats. Of course, I have to thank the outrageous and unbelievable generosity that people have shown the channel this particular show. But I kind of want to make a little bit of a show announcement for next Thursday. I've been working on a few different things behind the scenes, trying to get some outside talent to be guests on the Xbox Factor podcast. And I am very excited to talk about Chris, the Xbox FanFest guy from the Microsoft Xbox team, will be a guest on the Xbox Factor podcast next Thursday, and we have a whole bunch of questions regarding the Xbox FanFest, what happened in E3 2019, how the Xbox FanFest was founded, and what goes into actually setting up that very, very amazing event for fans. And then the following week, we are going to have another guest, which I'm very excited to announce. There's a little indie game coming out called Lost Worlds. The developer of that indie title that's going to be releasing apparently in December will also be coming on the following week, which I believe is the 19th of September. I believe it's the 19th of December, so it won't be the following week. It's going to be a few weeks afterwards. But yes, it's really great to have small developers, and of course, Chris from the Xbox team, from the Xbox FanFest team, on next week as a guest. That's going to be pretty amazing. I'm looking forward to that. And of course, real quick, you've seen someone join the channel memberships, and I really want to just thank them personally. Channel memberships, if you're not familiar with it. You've seen it on Dealer. You've seen Colt Eastwood advertise it. You've seen it on the Saltiest podcast. Well, I started a channel membership. I actually was approved by YouTube to do it. And basically, what you can do is you pledge $5 a month to the Double Barrel Gaming channel, and for each month that you are a part of the channel membership, you get a little icon next to your name in the chat. And there's also handmade emojis that you can pick as well. They're all video game related. Actually, J Dubs, aka the graphic art, helped me design them, and they're all really super cool. So if you're interested, you can go right to the front page of the channel and hit the join button. But these are the folks that have joined. Obviously, we saw today Tempest Sun is a new member. Josette Rivera, of course, my wife, who is a major supporter. Matt Burns, Philly Eagle, Lethal Papa, Masshole 1977, Aiden Williams, JD Gamer, Infinite AA, Scrub Nurse, Moonwalker 925, and J Force Games. Thank you so much for supporting Double Barrel Gaming. And of course, I could not do, nor would I want to do this show without my co-host, who I consider a brother, the Welsh Gamer. Thank you so much for being here, as always, giving us 2 hours of your time, and of course, saying bastard at least 3 times on the air, which is great. Listen, I know that you've taken a break from doing YouTube. Right now, you're focusing on this particular show, and I greatly appreciate that, but you're still very active in the community. Please tell everyone where not only can they reach out to you on Twitter in a private DM, but even if they want to go and check out some of your older content on YouTube, to get over there and sub your channel.
No, I appreciate that, Boom. And again, what a hell of a absolute fire. Everyone in the chat, you smash it week in, week out. I absolutely love you guys. And it made coming back just that bit more special than it could have possibly been. But yeah, if you want to find me on Twitter, at the Welsh Gamer 93, please follow me. I'm very active, pretty much tweet daily. I'm going to make a habit of saying this. Like, I have my ailments. I suffer with mental health. That is why I had a big sabbatical from the show and from YouTube. So I just want to throw out there once again, I'm going to say it every week because it's very important to me. If you are out there and you do suffer with anxiety or depression, you feel alone, you're not alone. Please hit me up at any time on Twitter and message me, because that's the most important thing. People feel like they're alone when they really aren't. So by all means, follow me on Twitter and hit me up at any time. And as for my YouTube, Boom said it, with me coming back from my sabbatical, I don't want to jump in the deep end, so I'm putting every bit of my heart and soul into just this show, which frankly, I'm happy to do it because this is my favorite thing to do, and I love it, and I want to put all my energy into it. And this show is just growing exponentially, and the chat is fire week in, week out. The topics can never get better. My brother, MrBooMStickXL, who's my brother from across the pond, we were separated at birth, and a boat took him away, and it wasn't nice. But honestly, man, thank you very much once again. What a great show. Loved every minute of it. Peace out. Love you all. See you next week.
Yep, thanks again for being here. And of course, once again, thank you to the chat. And we will see you next week on the new episode of the Xbox Factor podcast. Have a great weekend. And I want to just close out the show with this. 2 things I like to say. Maybe you're getting tired of hearing them. I'm not getting tired of saying them. 1, treat others how you want to be treated. And 2, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. And I'm telling you from the bottom of my heart, you live by those rules, I guarantee you're going to have an amazing day. Take care, everyone. See you next week.